it's Jen from Fabulous Paper Emporium, and welcome to my channel where we work on things paper crafting related, focusing on cards, folios, and albums. I have another card for you this week, and it is a split circle card, I think is what I've seen it called. And it comes together relatively simple. It is the perfect card if you are wanting to do some mass production, and it also is so versatile in the sense that you can make it for a gentleman or a female or a teen or a child, and it would look equally as cute. So I don't have a completed card for you right this second. I have some that are in the midst of being done, so I can show you one of those. So this is ultimately what it will look like, only we're going to do a little tag that goes across here to cover the seam, and with a little sentiment on the outside, but all it is circles that have been cut in half. So we'll get right to it. I'm just working off of an A2 card base, and if you're not familiar what that is a card that is 5.5 by 4 1/4. No, 5.5 by 4 1/4. Yes, sorry. And you can either do it in the landscape or in portrait. I'm doing this one in landscape just because I need more width than I do height. So that is the motto for today. So the front of this card is going to be 5.5 by 4 1/4. This top layer, I shouldn't say top layer, the first layer then is 1/8 of an inch smaller. So this is going to be 5 3/4 by 4 1/8. And then the top, the very top one, is going to be 1/8 of an inch smaller, and I'm already like throwing it off a little bit here. But this one is going to be 5 1/4 by 4. So then we have our 3 layers, and just that little touch of color adds so much to just what could be a very simple and basic card. I also cut another piece of the same color, and this is cut at 5 1/4 by 4. And I'm just double checking, 5 1/4 by 4. Yeah, and that's going to go on the inside. Because our card base is black, I want to make sure that we have something that is legible when somebody goes to write in it. And I'm not sure that I'm going to be the one writing in it. So then for your circles, you are going to need, basically, this is why it's such a great card for mass production. Let's start off with what we need. So you can get away with 3. I did 3 colorways here, or 4. I feel like any more and it's going to maybe possibly get a little bit cluttered. I've not tried any more than that, so I'm just going with what I know. And so you're going to choose 3 or 4 of your dies. And if you'll notice for these ones, if I've gone every other one. So there is a die that fits in here, a die that fits in here, and one that fits in there. So just to give like more space. So this is a 3" in diameter. This is 2.5. We have 2 and then 1.5. So if you happen to have punches that are those sizes, then this will work equally as well if you have just punches and not the dies. So I'm going to set the dies aside. What I did was I cut whichever one I use the largest on. I also am cutting a small one. All of these obviously are going to be split in half. So large, small. This one is second largest, so this one is second smallest. Then we have second smallest with second largest, and obviously the smallest and largest again, because we are going to need opposites. So with this, you're going to make 2 cards, which is perfect because we're going to get 2 card bases from our 8.5 by 11. We are going to be able to get the rest of the pieces from another 8.5 by 11 sheet. And then possibly with some leftovers, with some finagling, you may even be able to get these out of some of the card scraps that you might have. So when you go to cut, how I slice these, I think this is genius. I'm going to set all the ones that I sliced already aside. So I'm going to bring in my paper trimmer, and right at the top, there's a little space. So I've got a little ledge at the top, right and left, but in the middle, there's a little bit of space to allow for your blade to go all the way up, so you're slicing all the way through your paper. So just nestle the top of the circle into that space and you'll find your center. And I want to say, like, a good part of the time there is like no difference between the two. So you're going to continue doing that with the rest of your circles. And then it's just a matter of assembly. I love cards that come together this fast. And of course, if you have 4 different colors, if you want to run through when you're doing your die cuts, if you want to run through your machine, one color with all 4 dies, so all 4 of these laid out on your sheet, then you could make 4 cards. And it comes together, like I said, pretty darn quickly, pretty darn easily. So once you have all your circles done, we're going to lay them out, and you're going to go from biggest to smallest, and you're going to push that over all the way to one side. It doesn't matter what side, but you're going to have to keep it consistent within that one card. So if this card I'm attaching them to on the left hand side, I'm going to want to do the same thing when we do our bottom piece. So that would be our top piece, right? So these ones we're going to set aside, and then we're going to go to our next set where we did the opposite. And so this is going to kind of sit something like that. We're going to be able to move it, so don't worry too much. And we are setting these just so that I can show you that we're putting them all together on the left-hand side, which was my intention, so I don't know why I flipped that over. And so these are opposites, right? So we have pink as the biggest one here and the smallest one here. And then we have purple, and then we have this lime green, and then the teal or turquoise or whatever color you want to call it. So if I spin this around like so, very gingerly because it's not at all attached, I will then line up my colors, and then that's what gives it the little swirl effect. And I'm going to be able to do the exact same thing with this set because I cut 2 of everything, in the sense that we did 2 colors, big and small, and then worked our way backwards. So I'm going to put these together really quickly, glue them exactly the way I have shown you, and I will be right back. Okay, so we have all of our circles attached. So for the ones that are on the left side, I put all the circles towards the left side of the half circle. And then for the right side, I attach them all to the right. So you'll see how it gives you 2 different swoops. So I guess it's kind of opposite. So if you attach them to the left, it goes to the right. And if you attach it to the right, it goes to the left. So just keep that in mind. But, so yeah, so that's how you can get 2 cards out of basically cutting. You're going to have to cut 2 circles anyways of each size. They're just going to have to be opposites. Then you can get your 2 cards done. So the second part, and I probably should have just done this off camera, but I'm going to quickly put my layers together, and then I will explain a little bit about the little sentiment piece that will go on top. Okay, so I'm going to do the blue first, then I'm putting on another layer of black, and that's, like I said, just to give me a bit of contrast for the base because the black is so dark. Then I just wanted to give it a little pop of color, and it's so easy. And then I'm going to go with this one. So this one, you want to do your best to just get it in the middle. So just dry fit it first. So that way you've got, let me move this closer here. So that way you've got the same amount of space, give or take, at the top and at the bottom. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to gently move one off. And this way it's giving me still somewhere to kind of aim for, because it was pretty well centered. And like I said before, it doesn't matter if these are a perfect match, because we're going to put a little bar there, another piece of cardstock with a little sentiment. It could be happy birthday, it could be get well, it could be like thinking of you. I'm doing a thank you card. So I assume I do have it still on my platform. So I'm just going to choose one of the colors that I have on my rainbow kind of thing. I'm going to choose one of those, and I'm going to go with that one. So I think I'm going to do the pink. And what I have done here, because I didn't want it too thick, is on my stamping platform, I had this already set up. If you have a stamping platform, it works beautifully. So you have I've got my sentiment all lined up, and it's pretty close to the bottom of here. My strip here is just one of the scraps that we have, but before, if you were concerned about being able to place it correctly and having enough space, you're just going to measure from one side to the other. So this measures out to be 4 inches in length. And so my strip here is definitely longer than 4 inches. And I'll be able to kind of cut around that. So I'm just going to add my ink to my sentiment. Pop that down. Works out perfectly. And this way I can figure out now where I want this to go. I've got some kind of room to play with. So if I want it a little bit further over to this side, which I tend to like, at least for these cards, then I'm just going to get out my paper trimmer. Oops, I forgot to put my magnet back. And that's about, I want to say like about 1/4 of an inch away. We're just going to cut this. Spin that around, go to 4. And I noticed that when I was doing the ones with just 3 colors, that it was a little bit different. So just keep that in mind, that once you've started making them, make one and measure, and they may vary just slightly. Depends on how you've assembled them. I realize now that I forgot to trim that. So what I like for, at least for this sentiment, because it is a pretty thin stamp, is I'm cutting this at 3/8 of an inch. And so this way it's like a little flag. And that's going to go up like so. So I'm just going to pop that up on some of this foam tape. And yes, I'm using these itty bitty ones again because they're what I have on my table right now. So it is what it is. I know I've got some of the strips, and these ones are also pretty high when it comes to the size of the foam. Oh my goodness. Try to spit that out. Okay, and apparently I've already taken off most of them. So this is just going to go right along the seam. Make sure I have that. That's pretty close. Actually, I need to move that over a little bit. Now I can't really see it. Sorry, it's either get my fat head in the way or move it down a little bit. So I'm going to move it down a little bit. And then the last thing to do is put our blue card stock on the inside so we can write a nice message and it can be seen. All right. And this card is done. So hopefully you have found this useful and inspiring in some way, shape, or form. If you have any questions, you can absolutely post them in the comments below. If you have any comments or feedback, I'm always happy to hear back from my viewers and subscribers. And speaking of which, if you haven't already subscribed, if you would like to subscribe, I really would appreciate it so much. We reached our 1,000 subscribers goal last week, and this weekend I will have a post. We will be doing a giveaway on July 1st, which just so happens to be Canada Day. So I'll have some sneak peeks as to what that giveaway might be. And we'll get links up so that people can start registering. And yeah, so I really appreciate, like I said, all the support. Really goes a long way. Yeah, so hopefully you have had a wonderful time, a fabulous time, and you have a fabulous rest of your day. Thank you so much for joining us. I'll see you again next time. Bye.